So what about Marcus Rashford then? He emerges, presumably, as a big positive from this week away with England.
Absolutely, the main man. I mean, to put it into context, he got 5 goals already for England at 20 years of age. It took Harry Kane till he was 21 to get his first one. So I think sometimes we forget how young he is, how talented he is. He's in and out of the Man United team, which is difficult for him, I think, because he's up against Romelu Lukaku, who's a striker. I don't see him as a wide man, Rashford. And I think at times when you do play him there, he doesn't seem the same player. He's a striker. He's a number 9. He's got blistering pace. I think you let teams off the hook when you play him wide. My biggest problem for him is just getting in that Man United team because of the competition he's got there.
He added a different dimension to England's attack over these last 2 games. I suppose in the first game, when you look at Spain, Harry Kane was dropping too deep. What Marcus Rashford offered you was running in behind. His pace, he added movement. The only thing I would say, especially looking at the first game, it needs to be more clinical in front of goals, because when you play against the top teams, you don't get that many chances. You need to be finishing them. But overall, these last 2 games, he adds a different dimension.
The problem he's got, and it's the same for any young striker, we talk about young players getting a chance at the big clubs. Nothing's harder than the striker, because certainly the top 6 in this country will be looking for world-class players in that position, because the most important players, they make the difference. So you think of like Rooney and Michael Owen, they were freaks, the one-offs to come through at, I know Rooney come through at Everton, but he ends up at Man United at 18. Michael come through obviously at Liverpool. So the real biggest clubs, that's the hardest position to come through. And you look at someone who Jamie's just mentioned, Lukaku, who's in front of him. I don't see Rashford ever displacing Lukaku how long he's there. But if you remember, Lukaku was at Chelsea. He had to come away from there and go to Everton. Then ends up, I think, top scorer one season at Everton in the Premier League, then gets his move to Man United. And possibly an Everton is the sort of club you look at just below the top 6. Someone like a Rashford, similar to what Lukaku did, where you know you're going to play every week. You're going to be that centre forward. You know if you have a couple of games where you don't score, you're still going to play next week. That's the big problem. If he plays for Man United and he I think the end of last season was at Brighton away. I think Mourinho had a little pop at him and maybe someone else, and Lukaku went straight back into the team, and that's the problem you'll always have.
I agree. He's got to leave them. Do you think he's got to leave United?
I think so. Yeah. Well, is he good enough to displace Lukaku?
Well, he scored 2 tonight as well.
I know. Listen, it's 2 games, but is Rashford good enough to be Manchester United centre forward for them trying to win the league or the Champions League? He may not be.
But as Jamie said, he's 20. Isn't it enough at 20 to be playing the odd game for Manchester United, coming in and out of the side and starting games for England?
Well, ask him if he's happy enough doing that. But I think it gets to the stage where you want to play every week. We're talking about will he ever be an England regular or be Manchester United's real centre forward where you know the team's picked and he's always on it? Will it ever get to that stage? And what I'm saying is, in that position, as I've just mentioned, you've got to be world-class. Rashford's not world-class yet. He might be at 23, 24. As Lukaku's done. Lukaku now looks one of the best strikers. We've seen him in the World Cup, centre-forward to Man United. So Rashford may have to move away to come back to one of the top teams.
I take Jamie's point, because it's the most difficult thing in the world, leaving a big club, because it's such a step down. But to get regular football, it's going to be hard for him to get into that team, because he's up against Lukaku. And the manager at the moment likes a striker like a Drogba or Lukaku, but that can change. You know, if the manager's not there in 6 months or a year's time, it's a different question altogether. He might say, you know what, I might see this out because I'll last longer than him.